And welcome once again to Enlightened Changemakers TV. I'm Anne Aleckson, your host, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you Vicky O'Connor. So Vicky is on a mission to help women reawaken to their inner power, wisdom, and their innate gifts, to realise their worth, to honour themselves, to feel seen, heard, and united with the sisterhood, to bring about the change that this world, our world, needs, one woman at a time. So Vicky, hello, welcome. I love one woman at a time because, as you know, I'm all about one person at a time, and it starts with me. So I absolutely love that. Now, we've just been through International Women's Day. And so what I'd love for you to share with us to get started is, having celebrated International Women's Day yesterday, what do you see for women going forward? What does the future look like for women?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I thought International Women's Day was fabulous yesterday. There was a lot of posts and a lot of love out there for International Women's Day, and the cricket women won, and there was 86,000 people at the MCG. So that was a real win. I'm very excited. I sometimes get quite a bit despondent, but I'm quite excited that I see like the one woman at a time thing, that a woman gets it and she lights up, and then she's with these other women, and then her energy helps others light up, and I just see it like ping, 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 ping all around the world, because our energy influences everybody else's energy, whether we choose to believe that or not, but we do. So the quality of our energy, if we're lit up by our self-acceptance and self-love and self-care, if we're lit up, pardon me, by being in the presence of other women who perhaps can't or aren't in the position to light themselves up at the moment, they feel just a little bit of that. They feel a bit of this and a bit, and they actually get raised up just by feeling that energy. And I'm excited for the future that we finally understand that we are worthy, that we do have a vital role to play in this earth. And it's not necessarily even a gender thing, it's a divine feminine thing.
Yes, right.
The divine feminine is in, masculine and feminine is in everybody. And when that is in balance in everybody, we could have utopia on the earth.
Yeah.
I'm excited because the divine feminine is rising in everybody. Gender aside, but the divine feminine is coming into balance with the divine masculine, so we can all benefit and we can all live in a peaceful, harmonious world.
So what does a awakened and balanced divine feminine in everyone look like?
Well, particularly for me and my perspective, that you honour yourself, you honour yourself, you honour your boundaries, I think very protective of your own energy and where you let that go to, and plug the leaks if it's leaking out to and depleting you, and it's absolute and utter self-acceptance as you are, and not trying to be anything for anyone else or society, whatever society tells you should or shouldn't do. Doing and being you your way, being who you really are, and what makes you feel fabulous, what lights you up. Just utter who you came here to be, and that doesn't need to be world leaders or in this public spotlight. You could be a Tiddlywinks champion. If that lights you up, that's your thing, that's your gift to the world, because you are lit up by doing tiddlywinks or
So,
whatever it is.
so Vicky, if I'm, for instance, if I'm watching and I'm someone who's never kind of felt any power within myself, who doesn't really know yet who I am or what I want to do, what's the first thing I should do? Where do I start?
Connect inwards, connect.
What does that mean?
Listen to that little subtle voice that's in there. And I keep going back to meditation. Meditate, listen to your inner voice, not all the external things that TV people that are all yelling at you what you should and shouldn't be. Listen to you, because what is in your intuition, your gut feeling is absolutely right for you, right for nobody else but you, and it will never let you down. And that is your inner voice, and it will tell. If you connect to that and learn to listen to that, you will not go wrong, in the sense that what you will do is right for you always.
Right.
It will always you will always be. You can trust it to lead you to the right places and right things and right ways of being. If you go against it, it can often be quite detrimental to you in an energetic sense and in circumstances. But listen to that inner voice, and connect to that through meditation.
So, you just said that when you don't listen to it, it can have an adverse effect. Have you had that experience in your life? Tell me
absolutely.
about that.
Well, it was around money. Years ago, we were living in Melbourne, and long story, but my grandmother's, her car she was told she couldn't drive anymore. So there was this, little car, and we had the money to buy it. And something in my head was saying, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, just buy it. They couldn't give this car away. Nobody wanted it. And the minute that we decided that, oh yes, we would buy it, someone did buy it. And then our car, and I thought, what do we want 3 cars for? Our car broke down and literally died. We needed a brand new car. And my husband had just had a payout of redundancy. We could have paid off our house. We could have, and we didn't. We had to buy a new car. So financially, that set us back quite substantially. But I knew, that my intuition was saying, buy that car, and I didn't. And I actually am quite annoyed at myself, but I have to forgive myself. But yes, I've not listened to it. That's probably the biggest one. Fortunately, they weren't catastrophic, life-threatening consequences. But yeah, it was a big lesson for me.
Yeah. And what about on the opposite end of that? When have you followed your intuition and it's really paid off?
Oh, well, joining her business.
Yep.
That was. I've met, well, obviously I've met some other lovely women that I'm going to work with within that group. And my biggest one, absolutely biggest one, is my husband. When I met him, he was not in a good place. He'd lost his previous wife. But when I physically met him, a light bulb, literally a flash went off over his head.
Wow.
And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just saw it. And then we worked in different places. And about 18 months later, we were working in the same place. And we've been married, in May this year, we've been married 30 years.
So essentially, there was a light flashing above his head saying, yes, Vicky, I'm yours, I'm yours, yes, I'm yours.
But he didn't know that was happening. And there's quite an age difference. So I was thinking, I can't take on this role. I don't know what I'm doing. Will I let this man down, because I was 19. And I asked my higher self, and I set up 3 very distinct conditions. Show me this. If these 3 things happen in these conditions, this is absolutely right. And they happened. They absolutely happened. And yeah, as I say, 30 years later, together.
So even though you'd seen the flashing light and then you started to move into that situation, you still had to put some little tests in there to learn to trust.
Yes, yeah, because the circumstances were quite heavy around in the dynamics, but I just thought, yeah, I think I did, because I was 19, 20, around there. Yes, if this is right, show me this. And then I absolutely learned to trust it then, because those things most definitely happened.
It's interesting that you mention age there, because I think age is very important in this journey that we take with regards to trusting ourselves, with regards to allowing ourselves to use our innate abilities and all of these sorts of things. Because certainly as a 19, 20-year-old, you just are in such a place of, or at least I was, and I'm not sure it still happens for younger women now, because they have a lot more freedom. They have a lot more, they grow up with empowered women as their mothers, because we've learnt to be empowered. So it's perhaps different for people around that age now. But certainly when I was growing up, and perhaps when you were growing up as well, we were kind of disempowered, and we were kind of at the behest of everything in our life, the job and what we were supposed to be doing and what we should be doing, and all of those sorts of things. And as you know, as we do, we step into this collective thing that is called what a woman is supposed to be. So when was your awakening from that?
I actually think it wasn't like a specific time. It was pretty much my whole upbringing.
Right.
Because my mum is the most amazingly fantastic, capable, powerful woman, but she doesn't know she is. And I've watched, because she essentially brought, my dad was there, and he still is, but he was away a lot. She was the local nurse, and everybody brought their sick kids to our house. She was a healer in that way, but she also was brought up where the marriage that they had, that she was wrong and nothing she did was right. And I watched that dynamic play out, seeing this fabulously amazing woman be denigrated and like verbal abuse, emotional abuse, that kind of thing. And I actually think every single day that I saw that, or to varying degrees, just gave me the fire in my belly just a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was looking back. Yeah. I can now see I lived there for 20 years, so until I moved out, I think it was incremental.
Yeah.
And I rallied against it. My father and I we just butt heads, still do, because I won't put up with it.
Yeah.
And never did. So I think it was a progressive thing rather than
Yeah.
The point that when I met my husband, he is the complete opposite of my father. He is nothing like my father, because I decided at some stage I was never going to be like my mum. As powerful and as gorgeous and lovely as she was, she still to this day doesn't realise how amazingly awesome she is, because she wasn't allowed to feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. So from generation to generation, we women become more free, become more powerful, or start to recognise our own power and start to use it in the world. So if we go back generations, where did this collective struggle come from?
Oh, well, I've actually spoken to a woman. It made perfect sense to me, but I find it hard to explain that there's masculine and feminine when in creation, and to experience it itself, because it was creation was a whole, God, whatever you want to call it, was already whole. So to experience itself, the feminine, they agreed, masculine and feminine agreed to drop the feminine to drop down, and it's all a learning thing. It's really hard to explain, but we all at some stage agreed to participate in it like this.
In the game
of since humans have been in existence on Earth, we all at some stage agreed to it, but for the learning. So I think I can say it goes back about 2,000 years since it's been 2020, but I think it's been an evolutionary kind of thing, and it's
so what has the learning been, do you think?
To bring balance because we all, we've all had previous lives, we've all been men and women in those lives, and I think each life, each learning, you come back, at some level in your soul you retain those learnings, not necessarily in your conscious mind, but you learn, and we must have thousands upon thousands of lives to learn each little bit we need to learn. But currently in this this work today, we've got that knowledge somewhere in us, and that we use that knowledge to bring about changes for everyone so that we can all live harmoniously together,
right,
instead of tearing each other down, having wars, and just live together in harmony, because that's, I think, what our essence is.
And so, we talk about one person at a time, one woman at a time, all of those things. So if we go back to looking at it from that perspective, what does that one woman, or what does that one woman or one person need to do now in order to step into that now, instead of waiting for someone else to step into it, or waiting for everyone to step into it? What does that one woman do today to step into what you're talking about?
Well, I think fundamentally the one thing you can do that has, and I think, and this is the essence of it, if you absolutely accept yourself as you are now, not what you're told you should be, like we said, told what you should be or shouldn't be, or you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I actually thought of it yesterday, if we didn't have mirrors in our lives, what would we think of ourselves? Would we have all those external pressures on us to be certain ways? If we let go of that, the appearance side of things, and actually tune into ourselves and accept ourselves just as we are right now, with no emphasis on how we look or how we are. We just are okay because we are here. We're perfectly okay. That it starts with the individual, and then that individual lights up, and then it just gives that little bit.
So you're saying to step away from self-judgment, yes, and into total self-acceptance is what I was trying to say. Total self-acceptance, accepting who you are in this moment as being exactly what you need to be in this moment.
Yes, because if we hadn't, had those external pressures and expectations and things, we are whole, just as we are. Even if we have physical disabilities, or we are whole just as we are. All the things we think about ourselves have come generally from external things that have been said to us in our lives, that what the TV says we should do. Most of our self-belief has come from external sources. You think of that little baby born. That little baby doesn't know anything other than it's a pure form of energy and a pure human being, a tiny little baby. And then that the conditioning and the judgments and the shoulds and shouldn'ts get put on that little baby, and then it turns into an adult, and it's got this, I see it as layers and layers that we drag around with us in a consciousness sort of way, in our subconscious, layers and layers of stuff that we've been told that isn't ours. It's in there because it goes everything goes straight into your subconscious, but that it's not our stuff. If you took all that away, we are pure and whole just as we are.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with us.
Yeah.
Anybody, male, female, anything.
It's hard to convince ourselves of that, though, when we are stuck in the baggage and the drama and the mud, essentially, in the quicksand that has been the way we've lived up to this point.
And one of the quickest, well, not quickest, but one of the even easiest, it's not easy to do, but just pick one. It's our self-talk, our self-talk, because it's the classic verbal abuser. You know, you get told that you're fat, you're ugly, you know, whatever words people put on you. And then you think, oh, jeepers, you know, they must be right. So you keep saying it to yourself. So they've done their job, they walk away, and you keep abusing yourself because you go over and over what they've said to you in your head, which is just, it is not real.
Yeah.
But their job's done, you know, you keep doing it yourself. And if we even just once, just change one form of self-talk, negative self-talk, when you go to say, oh, you know, I'm too fat for these pants, oh, these pants actually look really good on me. And it is not easy to do, but if you just pick one thing and say one positive thing, to turn one negative into a positive, just every day of the week, by Sunday, you'll be thinking, oh, you know what, but not too bad. And I know it's hard to overcome subconscious beliefs, but just turning those little things around.
Yeah.
And then next week, do 2 things.
Yeah.
The week after, do 3 things, and write these things down and put them where you can see them, and turn that negative self-talk that you are actually carrying on society's, or, you know, and the patriarchal world we live in, that everybody suffers under, that you're doing their job for them, because you're stripping yourself and your energy, because you're continuing what they've said to you, when none of it is true.
Yeah.
None of it is true. And it just, if we change our self-talk, what we tell ourselves, from negative to positive, by increment.
Because we use those negative thoughts about ourselves to beat ourselves up with, don't we?
Absolutely.
And you've got to, you're just like, you know, if you imagine someone forcefully beating on someone, you've got to gather the strength to pull that person off. And you've got to do the same thing with your thoughts. You've really got to put a lot of energy into ending that so that you can move into doing something more positive. Absolutely. So Vicky, tell me, how do you work with women? As in, what do you, I know you work with women, obviously you're all about women and the empowerment of, which I love, and your business and website and all of those things is 7 Ladies Empowerment. So tell me a little bit about how you work with women, what you focus on and those sorts of things.
Well, I have, I'm starting this year to run workshops, face-to-face workshops. The first one is called From Self-Doubt to Unbreakable Self-Worth, Living in an Empowered and Joyful Life. And that goes to what we've been talking about, that you just starts with ultimate and self-acceptance. And I have, I'm starting a coaching program. I don't like the word coaching, but I can't find an alternative at the moment, but a program, either, you know, one-to-one with women who, particularly midlife women who have just given and given and given to everybody, and they're always way, way, way down their list of priorities, that are just starting to think, you know, I just don't want to do this anymore. They're often got their kids off their hands, or, you know, a little bit more free in their time, but still have that should, would, could conditioning on them to break out, learn to break out. And the examples are that we don't often, women of that, around 45 plus, have still got a little, still got the foot in that gender typical upbringing in the way, opportunities, the subjects of school were all gendered and all that sort of thing. To recognise that they are actually entitled to live their life the way they want to, and now is the time to start to stop and reflect and, what did I want for my life? What did that little, 10-year-old girl in me want for her life?
Yeah.
And reconnect to that and explore that and apply that to their life now. It is okay to take time for yourself. It is okay to put yourself first. And as we said before, when you are lit up by doing what you want to do, you're actually helping everybody else and those around you, and learning that they're to put boundaries in when people are sucking you dry from your energy, and actually remembering that you do have a choice. You do have rights to be the right to be happy and not there for everybody else. You be there for you all the time. And I think a lot of women, particularly, I'm 52 this year, particularly of that sort of era, when we're so enmeshed in the doing, and we don't realise that we can do it for us and that we do have a choice to do it for us. We just so expect.
It's very hard. It's very hard for us to turn away from being the carer and allow ourselves to bring that energy to ourselves. It's, I think, one of the hardest things for women is to, as I said, to stop being the carer of everybody else. And so I like to invite that by saying to people, that whole, we've all heard it a million times, particularly if we've been on airplanes, you've got to put your own air oxygen mask on first.
Yes, because you can't help anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And so the greater care that you can give is to actually give it to yourself first. So important that we remember that. And it's a big turnaround for most of us, because we have really grown up being the carer and taken on that role, willingly taken on that role. And I'm not saying stop taking on that role. I'm saying yes, but give it to yourself first. And then you've got a greater capacity to give without depleting your own energy. So I love that.
And you can be the carer if that lights you up and it's not draining you and you don't resent it, and if that's your thing, that is your purpose, that is what lights you up, that's your gift to the world. But if you're doing that and being the carer in that capacity, and you're leaking energy everywhere to, so I don't want to do that, but I've got to do that.
Boundaries.
Yes. If it all comes down to what makes you feel good. If a thousand people are telling you that it's not okay, or it's not right, but in your bones that it's right for you, it's right for you. What those 1,000 people say are irrelevant and got nothing to do with you. You could be the one person in the billions of people on earth who do this one thing, whatever it is, and all those people are telling you that it's wrong. If it's right for you, it's right for you. It's got nothing to do with anybody else, because we all have a little piece of the puzzle that humanity needs. And again, with the Tiddlywinks reference, if you love playing Tiddlywinks and it's your passion, you're okay to step back from your obligations and your caring and your whatever roles you've been molded into, to go and play Tiddlywinks, because that's your thing. And you don't have to walk away from the obligations and responsibilities, but they can coexist. It's whether they deplete you or not, or the best be neutral about it, but if they light you up, do them. If they detract from you, rethink them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the idea is to, to be lit up all the time, but it's quite hard to, like it's not
It's
hard.
interesting about the carer archetype. A couple of years ago, I created a quiz with 5 different archetypes, and one of them was the carer. And I have to say, out of thousands of people that did that quiz, the majority were in the carer archetype. So it was their natural way of being. I think it is our natural way of being. I think we've been trained away from it, and we've been trained to do it at the detriment to caring for ourselves. So that turnaround of fill your own bucket first, and then you've got more to give, and you're giving from a place where you've got boundaries, so it's not taking away from you, it's adding to you. I love it.
That's the thing, you can give. And if you use the analogy, pardon me, of a present, it feels so good to give. And it can be that person feels really good, and so do you. But if when in the giving, you're giving a piece of you away, that's where that's not good giving.
Yeah.
It's when if it depletes, you've got 2 choices. Is it going to enhance me, or is it going to deplete me?
Absolutely.
That's your choices in everything that you do. And the idea is to do these ones as much as you can. Yes, we all have to do these ones a couple of times. But if you do that and say, well, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, you can, well, all the soul-sucking things we don't like to do, do them. But you can also put a bit of mindset on them that, I'll do that, and then I'll go and reward, light myself up with this, or I'll do that, but that's the last time I'm doing it. Or do it with a good grace. Oh, make it fun, or put a positive energy around it. If you can't get out of it, it's all about your energy. What makes you feel lit up, how you feel while you're doing it. And if it's draining you, then it is not right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people get in touch with you? And then I want to ask you one last question, but how can people get in touch with you? How can they connect with you? How can they find out more about your work? Well, let's say working with you, either in workshop or in a personal one-on-one.
My website is 7ladiesempowerment.com, as is my Facebook, which is 7 Ladies Empowerment, and same on Instagram, same name, 7 Ladies Empowerment. My email's 7ladies1@outlook.com. So yes, I actually was working yesterday rejigging a few things. So yes, if anyone would like to work with me, I'd love to work with them.
And you're on Facebook, of course?
Yes, 7 Ladies Empowerment.
Okay, fantastic. 7 Ladies Empowerment. That's all you need to remember, really.
Yes,
and I will include a link when we get this video done as well.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So I have a question, and I think it's a really important question at this point. We've been talking about women. We've been talking about empowering women. Where do men come into it?
They're a very, very vital part, because we are all in this together. And I actually think, under the society that we've had for the previous 2,000 years, I actually think men have suffered terribly. And I'm not anti-men. I probably sound like I am, but I'm
no,
not.
Not at all. Not at all.
I think they could greatly, as a collective, they could greatly benefit from the rising of the divine feminine, and seeing inner power, like inwardly powerful women rising up, but not rising up to take over, rising up to be with. So the men very, very much fit in that scenario, that I think that they could very much benefit from, because they've got XY chromosomes, that the X has been completely shut down really tight. by opening that up with, you know, the divine feminine energy that they do have, that they can be who they really are as well, instead of shutting off that whole half that is the feeling side and the emotional side. And I can't imagine how crippling that must be as a person to have that. My husband's a walking example, cannot cry, and I just think that would be torture to not be able to show who you really are to the world because of that conditioning you put on you. So I see feminism and, you know, the rising up of the divine feminine, pretty much gender, not associated to gender, but it can and very much will, is my belief, help men to realise that, yeah, we are all equal. We are all in this together, where we all want to be loved and fit in and belong, and just get up every day and be who we are, and not get up, put a costume on and pretend that we're something we're not.
Yeah. So for the empowered women, or those of us who are working towards being empowered women, how would we encourage that for our men, either our sons or our brothers or our fathers or our lovers? How would we encourage that?
Well,
we'll start having the conversation, perhaps.
Well, with with my husband, I ask him how he feels. You know, like, try and get out that. Well, how are you feeling about that? I know he's had an enormous amount of grief, but it hasn't been spoken about, and that's in there somewhere. And speaking about things, asking, getting them to, I suppose, get in touch with their feelings. I can't imagine how you would. I don't have the techniques to do that, but I don't think we're never going to get anywhere if we keep fighting and I'm better than you and you're, you know.
Yeah, so it's about opening
superiority. We are all
the
equal.
lines.
Yeah,
Communication.
Talk about it. Say how. And I actually called a man out a while ago. I was playing pool and he made a reference to my breast while I was playing pool, and I didn't tear him a new one. I just said, that really makes me uncomfortable because of previous issues. And I just explained to him. He thought it was funny, and so did the other blokes with him.
Yep.
And I said, no, that's really uncomfortable because that triggers me from a teacher that I had that was very inappropriate. And he understood, and he actually came up to me as I was leaving. So I'm really sorry about that. So he hopefully won't do that next time.
Thought twice before saying it next time.
Yes, and it's the same with women being horrible to, you know, men who come and get the courage up to ask them out.
Yes.
Oh, why would I want to go out with you? We just need just basic respect for each other.
Which starts with self-respect, of course.
Exactly. Starts with the self. It always comes down to the self. But encouraging, you know, little boys to be. I don't have boys, and I don't have a lot in little ones in my life, little boys in my life. But encouraging them to be who they are, and not, don't cry. Yes, cry. Don't scream and make a noise about it. But like I used to say to my girls, you can cry, but you don't have to scream. But encourage them, let them be themselves, and don't try and mold them to what you think society wants them to be. You know, little boys love pink things. Little boys love their nails being, their nails being painted. And I know of men who've said, no, they can't do that. They can't wear nail polish because it affected the man's ego. Let the kid be a kid. And if we start at a generational level, it'll flow through.
So just, allow people, each person, to be individual.
Everybody.
To be who they are, yes.
And I said yesterday to someone, you don't know what it took someone to get out of bed that day.
Yeah.
It might have been easy and I'll spring out of bed and enjoy the day. It might be, I can't do another day. I really don't want to do this. You don't know what's going on in anybody else's life. Let everybody go. Let it go. You get a snapshot of a person. You don't know them. Only they know them. And just let everybody be.
Yes.
Without your judgment. You don't. They deserve more than your judgment on their life.
No, and I love that. And I think this is a beautiful place to end, because children's books and movies and things, they just always hold such profound truth. And just in hearing you say that, let it go, of course, that song comes to mind from that movie. Now, I'm the mother of boys, so I don't, you know, I'm not really into those and the grandmother of boys. I'm surrounded by boys.
I'm the
Um,
opposite.
so, that's not really the things that they gravitated towards, but I'm aware of Let It Go and the song and the phenomenon and all of that. And I just think that really is, children's movies are so profound, the things that you hear in them that are just, I mean, life-changing things that you can pick up through children's movies. And one of them is that whole expression, let it go. So important, as you just mentioned. Let people be who they are, and let go of any need to judge yourself or anyone else, or expect anything from yourself or anyone else. Just allow yourself to be who you truly are. I think that's a beautiful way to end our conversation today. Is there anything you want to add before we finish up?
Oh, no, well, just about the children's movie, I had to see one in a work situation, but it also, this scenario with the Frozen and Let It Go, that's fabulous. And I haven't seen the movie, but I know it's all about empowerment, self-empowerment. But there was another one that this little fox thing wanted to be this big grandiose thing, but it came back to that, with that self-acceptance. Well, you are perfectly okay just as you are. And it took all these ridiculous scenarios for him to realize that he was a worthy and whole little being, just as he was. He didn't need this, whatever it was, accolades or awards, whatever it was. He didn't need that, because he's worthy and whole by himself. And the other analogy that is very, very powerful is the Dorothy in her red shoes. She always had them. It's always been, they were always there. You always had that power, and we do. We just need to get those layers off to realize the power is here. It is absolutely within us.
We always had the power.
It's always there, but we just don't. We need to just realize, we are wearing the red shoes and we can do what we want.
I love it. Thank you so much, Vicky,
it's a pleasure.
for joining me today to have this discussion. If anybody is interested, you can find Vicky. Just type into Facebook or Google 7 Ladies Empowerment, and I'm sure you will find her website, 7ladiesempowerment.com. Thanks, Vicky, and we will talk again soon. Join the Enlightened Changemakers community on Facebook for uplifting posts, fun and informative conversations, live video trainings, and so much more every single day of the week. Thank you for watching today's Enlightened Changemakers interview, and we will see you very soon in our Enlightened Changemakers Facebook community.